Hello everyone, it's Ian Reid here again with his son James. We're now on to episode 2 of our great international goals. So, what goal are we doing today, James?
Paolo Rossi versus Brazil.
Paolo Rossi versus Brazil from which tournament?
1982.
1982 World Cup. Where was the 1982 World Cup?
Spain.
It was in Spain. Interesting tournament, that one. So the first tournament ever to have penalty shootouts, and actually the last tournament ever which involved 2 group rounds. So there was 24 teams in that tournament, I think 6 groups of 4, and then the top 2 teams from each group would go in to a second group round, and they would have 4 groups of 3 teams, and the winner of each of those groups would go into the semi-finals. So the game we're talking about, James, is Italy v Brazil, which was actually from that second round of group games, wasn't it? And who else was in that group? Italy, Brazil and Argentina. Tough group, second round. I think that Argentina game, so the Argentina team had Diego Maradona, and I think the Brazil team were actually the favourites to win the tournament. They had players like Zico, Socrates, Falcao, so a really tough group, and I think Italy had won the first game against Argentina, and then they were coming in for this big decider around who'd get to the semi-finals against Brazil. So what was the final score in that game, do you remember?
Final?
The final score in the game, Italy v Brazil.
3-2.
It was 3-2 to Italy. And the man we're talking about today, Paolo Rossi, he scored all 3, didn't he? Got a hat-trick in that game. The goal we're going to recreate is actually his first goal in that game. A little bit about Paolo Rossi before we talk about the goal. Paolo, one of the best Italian players ever. He actually was a bit of a controversial character, actually, Paolo Rossi. Before this tournament, he'd actually been banned for about 2 years in a big match-fixing probe, and he'd only just got back to fitness when he got selected for the tournament. Didn't play great, I don't think, in the group games, and then scored all 6 goals in the latter stage of the tournament, which made him top goal scorer, actually player of the tournament and the winner. So very few players have done that, won all 3 awards at a World Cup. So that's Paolo Rossi. Who did he play for club-wise, James? Juventus. I think he, like yesterday's Rivaldo character, he actually won the European Cup with Juventus as well. So a fabulous player. A pundit these days, I believe, in Italy. And we're now going to cut and show you that live footage. I wish it was live, obviously. That footage from 1982 World Cup. And James is going to talk us through it before we recreate the goal in the garden.
Cabrini picks the ball up on the left side, whips it in with his left foot to the back post to Paolo Rossi. What's that goal that is?
Great goal from Rossi. Let's see the replay, James.
Cabrini whips it in with his left foot into Paolo Rossi.
Here it comes. It's in. Yes, it's off. What a goal!